Hey guys, so today I'm here to talk about the application process for the Know India KIP program. Lots of people have asked me about this, so I'm going to explain it in detail. So firstly, you need to figure out if you are eligible. I would have gone through this in great detail in my last video, so you can check that out for more information, but I'm going to briefly go over it. So the age limit is 21 to 35 years. It's open to persons of Indian origin from all over the world, and you need to have an OCI card, that is Overseas Citizen of India, or a PIO card, which stands for Person of Indian Origin. In the absence of any documentary proof of Indian origin, you must submit an undertaking. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the video. Non-resident Indians are not able to apply if you previously participated in a KIP or any other program which was funded by the Ministry of External Affairs or the Government of India. You will not be able to apply. Educational qualifications. So the minimum qualification required is a graduation from a recognized university or institute. If you are currently pursuing your degree, you will not be eligible to apply. And language, you should be able to speak English, and preference will be given to persons who have never visited India before. So most persons will be able to meet the criteria very easily. The one that I'm going to focus on is the absence of any documentary proof of Indian origin. I'm going to tell you all about what you can use as proof of Indian origin. Documentary proof would be your great-great-grandfather or grandmother, the person who came from India. If you have their birth certificate, if you have their death certificate, if you have their immigration pass, that is what you can use. I'll tell you a little bit about what I would have gotten through it. My family would have traced our family history, and the researcher's name is Mr. Shamshuddin. He would have traced our lineage, and basically that document outlines the arrival of my ancestors from India to Trinidad, and it detailed a comprehensive family history, and he was able to authenticate most of the arrivals. I had that information to submit. The document is very detailed, and it captured Indians who were registered to Trinidad under the system of indentured labor. We also got copies of the immigration passes or the immigration forms, which is what I would have used. So you can easily obtain an immigration pass if you have the necessary information to do so. So the immigration passes can be found at the National Archives of Trinidad and Tobago. This is located in Port of Spain. They are the custodians of the nation's documentary heritage and provide free access to over 200 years of governments and the nation's irreplaceable historical documents and records in all formats. So this is where you're going to get the immigration passes, and we have been there. It's very easy to do so once you have the necessary information. So if you don't have any proof, you would be required to fill out the declaration form, which is in the application form. It basically allows you to state how you are of Indian origin without having any proof of it. It would be much more substantial if you actually get the proof. So I would suggest visiting the National Archives of Trinidad and Tobago to get that information. So let me tell you now how you can find your info. So if you have any sort of information on your family history, so you could get this from your grandparents or great-grand. So you need the arrival date of your ancestors from India to Trinidad. So if you have great-grandparents, if you're able to ask them that date, that would be very helpful. So what I would suggest is for you to make a family tree to try to figure out when your grandparents would have come into the country. If you have a name, that would be very helpful. It may not be your last name, it might be another name. So do some research and find out from your family who would have come from India, when they would have come, and what's their name. So next you would visit the National Archive Center, and basically you are going to look through the immigration books. They have tons of different books for all the different years. Indians immigrated to Trinidad during the period 1845 to 1917. So over this period, about 140,000 Indians would have been transported to the island. So that means there'd be a lot of books that you need to look through. So you really need to at least have an idea of the period or years that your great-great-great-grandparents would have arrived on the shores of Trinidad. The books that they would be giving you would be the original books, so you'd have to wear gloves to go through them, and it's really delicate, so you really want to have your information down. Once you have the estimated arrival date, you would request that specific book, and then you would go through it to see if you could find your relatives' names. It would be very important to have their last name, and there are lots of people with the same last name, so that's why the timing is also very important. The immigration passes were absolutely amazing. It was really a beautiful experience to go through those books and see how many people came to our country. On each pass, they would note like specific information about the individual. So if they had any markings, if they had any tattoos, their age, and where they came from. So any information you have on the people who came from India, your relatives, that would be good. It's a lot of information and it can be overwhelming. So if you can carry someone to help you look, that would be great. Once you have a copy of the immigration pass, either from your maternal or paternal side, you can submit this along with a family tree, highlighting how you are related to the person that came from India, thereby proving that you are of Indian origin. So another way would be having the OCI card, and you can apply for this online. The card costs about $275 US, and you can go on the website and apply for it. I can put the link in the description. This is a sure way of getting through because this is confirmatory that you are proof of Indian origin. I would have spoken to persons in the KIP and almost everybody had proof of Indian origin, so most likely they are only taking persons who have that information. So I would say for sure get the immigration pass, or if you have any documentary evidence, that is very important to getting through. Okay, let's talk about the application form now. So you would get this on the two websites that I would have mentioned at the beginning. Check out the Ministry of External Affairs website. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is put in the KIP edition that you are applying to and attach a recent passport size photo. Use a good photo of yourself. Make sure you are looking really good because this is the photo that they are going to use on your badge. I used a horrible photo and then I realized that they were printing it to put on the badge. So make sure you're looking good. The first section is personal details, so this is quite straightforward. Section B is proof of Indian origin. So these are the cards that I was talking about before, PIO or OCI. If you have these cards, you can put in the information. If your mother, grandfather, or father has any of these cards as well, you can put in the information there. Section C deals with details of family/relatives in India. If you know any of this information, you can put it in. That would be a plus. Section D deals with education. As I mentioned, you must be a graduate, so you would have this information to put in. Section E, occupation/employment. If you are employed, you can put in this information. Section F talks about achievements, professional, educational, that you want to share, so you can write a bit about that. And section G talks about your interests or hobbies. Section H, you will not have this. Unless you do have it, you can put in the information. However, this would be filled out like afterwards when you do sign up for the medical and travel insurance. The other detail section deals with if you've ever participated in the KIP program before, if you have visited India before. As I would have mentioned, they give preference to persons who have never visited. Number 3 and 4. Number 3 is a new one. If you have any siblings or relatives who would have attended the program before. I didn't fill out this, so this is a new question. And for number 4, you can say why you want to take part in the program. You could talk about your desire to visit your ancestral homeland and to experience the different facets of India and those type of things. And the last section would be the declaration. So in this section, you need to sign. Also, accept that all of the information that you have stated above is true. You would abide by the regulations, and if you are found guilty of any misconduct, you would be required to reimburse 90% of the airfare. The last section, which is the declaration, this section is where if you do not possess any documentary evidence of Indian origin, you will be filling out this. So you'll put in your information, your name, your date of birth, your parents' name, and you would then state the reasons why you are of Indian origin. So for example, for me, I would have stated that I would have conducted the necessary research and have documentation to prove that my great grandfather would have originated from India and voyaged to Trinidad via the specific ship. I would have attached the family history consultant document that I had. And let's say you don't have any of that and you are not able to get the immigration pass. You could say things like your grandparents would have told you stories about their grandparents. You could talk about if anybody would have spoken about relatives that came from India. You could talk about traditions and cultures that were passed down from your ancestors and if they are still practiced by your family. You could talk about your family celebrating auspicious events like Diwali and Holi and observing religious days such as Shivatri. You could talk about listening to Indian music and the use of Indian instruments, things like that, to show that you are of Indian origin. So after you complete the application form, you would be submitting it to the High Commission of India, Port of Spain. You would drop in the form and that's it. In the past, it was a much more complicated process whereby you had to create an account on the KIP portal and you would have had to fill out the form there. Trust me, this process is way easier. I hope it will be a smooth process for you all as well. I would have attended the KIP, so if you're interested in knowing how the program was and my experience, I have posted daily vlogs, so you can check out my channel for that info. If you have any questions about the application process or about anything that I would have discussed in the video, please feel free to leave a comment down below and I will try to provide any information that you require. Good luck. If you like this video, like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.